Presenting
The Complete
Orson Welles
and the Mercury Theater on the Air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London.
as the third man.
Stand by.
We'll be on the air in 15 seconds, Mr. Wells. May I stand help?
Stand by, everybody.
Mercury Theater on the Air presents Orson Welles as Count Dracula in his own version of Bram Stoker's great novel,
Who knows
Dracula.
what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
Hello world, welcome to The Complete Orson Welles, brought to you by Dwayne Old Time Radio. This podcast will feature various classic radio programs ranging mostly from 1936 to 1952 that Orson either produced and directed, was featured on, or starred as a guest. If you enjoy my podcast, you can subscribe to receive notifications of new posts. Subscribing is free and only takes a moment. New episodes are posted weekly. If inclined, please leave a rating and or review on your preferred podcast service. Thank you for your support. Hope you enjoyed the genius of Mr. Welles. This week we are back on schedule. We have The Ceiling Unlimited and 2 episodes from The Ceiling Unlimited. First is Gremlins by Lucille Fletcher. That one aired December 21st, 1942. And then we have American Airlines. That one aired December 28th, 1942.
Ceiling Unlimited.
Hello, Americans. This is Orson Welles. The men and women of Lockheed and Vega bring you this radio show with their good wishes for your Christmas. Tonight, we've taken our microphone to an important meeting of military chiefs somewhere in the United Nations.
Robert speaking. Yes, sir. No, sir.
General Roberts.
Hold it, I'm talking to him now. What am I going to say to him? Yes, sir. Just as soon as we know, sir.
General Roberts here for new reports, sir.
Chungking.
Here's one from the Kremlin.
Look at this one. Typical. A flyer who's had over 8,000 hours. Just as I was preparing to land, he says, a large purple one of the big-bellied type suddenly sucked the air right out from under my plane.
One of the purple variety.
That's what he says.
One of the big-bellied kind.
Oh, they're beastly.
Will someone tell me where those creatures come from?
Their name derives from the Old English transitive verb, gremmy, meaning to vex, I believe.
Grammar. To vex, huh? Well, if we don't get something definite, old Courtney will...
Old Courtney will what?
Yes.
What is it old Courtney will do?
Well, I'm sorry, General Courtney.
You mean about calling me old? Well, I am old. I've never felt older. 600 miles of the vilest weather I've ever flown in. And literally hundreds of them, gentlemen. Hundreds swarming all over the place.
Won't you please take this chair, General?
No, I will not. Well, 3 of the sharp-nosed ones aboard, gentlemen, and, well, no less than 20 of the hairy-leggedy ones.
Dad, you don't mean the ones with the triangular holes in their stomachs.
What's their particular function?
The holes for the wind to whistle through. Of course, it makes the young pilots think they're going faster than they are. Villainous.
There was one who blew a flute in me ear, like this. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, he played it. He did it again.
Huh?
There!
Hiding in your scarf, sir.
Look, there it goes.
Someone swat it. Swat it. Bash the little blighter.
Oh, no, sir, don't hit it. It's a Fifinella.
Blast the Fifinella.
They're the females, sir.
Sorry. Plunged right through the window pane by thunder.
Plug that window, orderly. We are violating the blackout.
General Roberts. That wireless telephone come in again.
Yes, it has. Shortly before you arrived.
What'd you tell him?
There wasn't anything I could say.
No, I suppose not. Nothing we can say. The official report come in yet?
I'll read it to you. Once upon a time, many, many long years ago, when this old earth of ours was just beginning to stir in its sleep...
Great day in the morning.
Among the reeds rushes, there lived the goblins and the gnomes and the elves and all the other little people of the fairy race.
What?
It's a report, Courtney.
Go on.
One little clan was different from all the rest.
Different? Oh, my great aunt.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of years, this little tribe lived in a lovely green wood.
Oh, my grandmother's hat. Boil it down, somebody.
Well, Courtney, it seems that these little...
Gremlins, they were getting along very well, minding their own business until we came along and Dug up their woods to make an airfield.
The general idea is that the Gremlins are out to get even. Now, this young lieutenant...
What young lieutenant?
An American named Messler, one of my boys. Has quite an idea. I ordered him to report here.
Where is he?
Lieutenant Messler reporting. General Roberts, sir.
Messler, you're an authority on Gremlins and the Pimpinellas and the Widgets.
I've met them all, sir.
Oh, Messler. Ever come on a Spanduli?
Oh, yes, sir, once. Picked up 6 of them over Norway. They smeared ice on the wings, had little mops and pails.
Ever run into a straight-tail gremlin?
Oh, they're blue in color.
Blue. Bilious blue.
With blue-tinged fur.
They snap rubber bands in the pilot's ears to make them pop.
Carry a pocket full of soda straws, they do, and blow bubbles in the oil line.
It's only a week ago, sir. It's only a week ago. Well, I was coming in for a night landing with only one flare at the end of the runway and a whole crowd of spade-nosed gremlins. You know, the kind that dig holes in the landing field. Rushed out, picked up the runway, and lifted it a good 8 feet off the ground.
Don't doubt it.
And just as my wheels were going to touch the ground, they all caught sight of a young female. She was behaving just like Margie Hart.
I know just what those gremlins did.
You're right, sir. They dropped the runway and ran after her.
There you are. Well, Lieutenant, you were brought here, I gather, because you have some sort of constructive suggestion.
I'm coming to that, sir. However, I would first like to acknowledge my indebtedness to a young lady whose womanly intuition finally enabled me to win through. I'm referring to Miss Moira O'Dooligan. And as long as this is a confidential report, I can state quite frankly that I'm hoping shortly to make her my wife.
Congratulations.
It was while I was paying her a visit that I first received my new slant on the situation.
Slant, eh?
If you will permit me, sir, I will tell you about it.
Hello, Ducky. Come into the house, me heart. Are you on leave?
Only today. Give me a kiss, please. I've had a touch of nerves.
Nerves? And you the calmest of men.
Moira, they're getting me down.
Is it the Gremlins, you mean, dear?
Hopping around the way they do in their suction boots. It's very unpleasant.
Suction boots?
A new wrinkle of theirs. So the wind won't knock them down.
Ah, the clever one.
Last night they climbed into the gas tank and sucked up half the gas. A couple went swimming in the oil lines, and one of them got stuck. He's the worst. He's taken a personal dislike to me.
Ah, no, my darling. The little ones are never personal.
This one is. Clarence. Clarence, his name is. Clarence Gremlin. Carries a hammer as big as himself. I power dive, and he clunks me on top of the head with it, or he runs out on my wrist and bangs me across the knuckle.
Poor treasure.
One after another. Bangs him like he was playing a xylophone. And he whispers in my ears. When it's soupy and thick, he whispers at me. You're flying upside down, he whispers. Well, then just when I'm relaxing, he suddenly shouts, there's a jerry on your tail. I start to do a wing over and get away, and then he laughs. That horrible, high-pitched, squeaky little awful giggle, and reaches up, he does, and yanks a hair out of my head.
Aww.
That's his way of keeping tally. Look at me. I'm almost bald.
Just like Muley, dear. Her tail, I mean.
I beg your pardon?
Muley is our cow at home in Ireland.
Very interesting. And do you think there's some resemblance?
It was Muley had the same identical trouble, me heart. They pulled all the hair out of her tail.
They?
The people of the she. Your little one, my dear. Your sheog. Is he fat or thin?
Homely. Thin, too. All the gremlins are thin. Legs like twigs.
Ah, the poor, wretched, hungry little creatures. It's starving they are.
Starving? With all that good ethyl and oil and glycol they've been lapping up.
Ah, my heart, what they want is a bowl of cream.
Cream?
Faith, every child knows it. Pixies have ever been wild and mischievous. In the old times, they were after coming into the home itself and scaring the cat and setting up the lamp chimney and tripping the cook. But sure, they only made trouble in houses where the folk were too mean entirely to be setting a bowl of cream out for them each evening by the back doorstep. Light 'em a life. Feed your gremlins their cream and they'll work for you. Do you mind me now?
Cream? Yeah. I read that years ago.
So you did, my heart. Get along without your cream now, and you may save the hairs on your head and the wear and tear in your nerves. And now you can be giving me a kiss if you're here.
And that, sirs, is how I got on to it.
Cream.
Cream?
Sirs, cream is the answer.
Well,
if I may continue... Well, I left Miss O'Dooligan's residence, and that very night I remembered to fly with a half-pint bottle of the very best heavy cream in my pocket. The visibility was excellent. I was up about 25,000 feet when Clarence appeared. He was outside this time on one of the wingtips. He had his little hammer. I could see him darting back and forth in the moonlight, hammering and testing here and there. I tried to catch his eye. I waved to him. He just went on hammering. And to make matters worse, who should show up behind me but three Messerschmitts and a Focke-Wulf 190. The Focke-Wulf let go. The hammering continued, with Clarence inside now, tapping away busily at the dial. I made a grab for him, but he got away behind the transmitter. I didn't have anything to throw at him but that bottle of cream. I threw it all right. Smashed just over his head and broke. All the mess of cream flew out all over him, dousing him from head to foot. Sirs, he was the wettest, maddest gremlin you ever saw. The Jerrys were still after me, and I was so busy for the next 10 minutes I didn't have time to think of Clarence at all. Suddenly, I got the queerest feeling in the pit of my stomach, sirs. The hammering was different. It went something like this. I saw him now close by me in the light of the moon. He looked dreamy and smacked his lips. Like the cream, Clarence? There's more where that came from, but you've got to behave. Okay? If you really want to help, take a look at these Messerschmitts behind us. Know anything about German engines? You do? Then stick 'em. And that, sirs, is my report.
Interesting.
Frankly, it's the explanation of how I managed to account for 3 enemy aircraft.
Cream.
Cream.
Yes, sir? Cream, sirs.
But it's very hard to come by.
Hard to come by. Gentlemen, we'll skim
Every pail in the United Nations if necessary.
Gentlemen, the Gremlins will get their cream. Uh-oh.
Headquarters. Oh. Yes, sir. It's him. He.
You take it, Courtney.
Don't want to. Well, you say so, Roberts. Seniority, I suppose. Hello? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir, but I was inadvertently detained. Yes, sir. Oh, sir, flying conditions are excellent over the entire period, sir, over the entire area. Yes, sir. You've no need to fear our anti-aircraft. And, sir, I think we've got the gremlin problem licked. You do it with cream, and then they won't bother you. In fact, they'll help you. Cream, yes. Just put it anywhere they can get at it. I should say smear some on the reindeers, on the tips of the horns and the hooves, the antlers particularly, and on the runners of the sleigh. Thank you, sir. Good night, and Merry Christmas! Ladies and gentlemen, only once every couple of centuries, a new legend appears on the face of the earth. That there are gremlins in this war is a tribute to the imperishable lightheartedness of the heroes whom they are harrying. It's our happy Christmas thought for this year. That as long as pilots of the Allied nations are capable of gremlins, nothing, gremlins included, can ever get them down. In our cast tonight, an old Mercury friend, an old Mercury star, Joseph Cotton,
and acted the role of Lieutenant Messler. Agnes Moorehead's part in the festivities consisted of some Irish brogue. Lou Merrill was General Roberts, and General Courtney was your obedient servant. Anthony Collins wrote the music, Lud Gluskin conducted it, and all of us wish all of you all the good things there are to wish for this Christmas. Good night, Americans.
This program has come to you from the Lockheed and Vega Aircraft Corporations of Burbank, California. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Ceiling unlimited.
Hello, Americans. This is Orson Welles. This radio show is brought to you by the men and women of Lockheed and Vega. Tonight we're going to talk about voyages. What's the definition of a voyage? Voyages are made by man in two dimensions, space and time. On November 28, 1520, Magellan brought his high ships into the Pacific from the Atlantic side. On April 7, 1521, he anchored at Cebu in the Philippines. A voyage of 8,000 miles in 128 days. What we say a voyage was? Man's passage through space and time. All right, then. Here's another voyage. 8,000 miles in 7 days. Out in San Francisco Bay, the China Clipper idles her engines. It's Friday, November 22nd, 1935. The president of the line talks to Ed Music.
You have your sailing orders, Captain. Cast off and depart from Manila in accordance therewith.
Well, this is it. Practice flights, flying blind, landing blind. Now the real thing. Important item concerning China Clipper's flight from San Francisco to Manila. It got there. Stirring message radioed back by Captain Music when Big News Syndicate radioed for interesting episodes during trip.
Sunset, 6:39.
Dramatic remarks of Captain Ed Music on landing exactly on schedule at Manila.
No incident.
Sunset, 6:39. Trip without incident. Years of work made those speeches that short. A room full of dreamers in 1927, the first 90 miles. In 1941, the Clippers flew as many people as live in the city of Houston, Texas. It's a lot of people in the sky. Voyages? Pacific Clipper on its regular run rather smugly on schedule. It's December 7th our time, December 6th their time. The wireless starts to chatter. Radio officer John Poindexter hands the message to Captain Ford. They look at each other. Message is 2 words. Plan A.
Pacific Clipper to Pan American Terminal, Auckland, and proceeding according to Plan A just received. Japs between us en route back to Hawaii. We'll have to make a return trip the long way around.
The long way around, I'll say. Around the world. Voyages? Over the Timor Sea, across the Dutch East Indies, Java, Sumatra, the Bay of Bengal, India, the Arabian Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Congo, the Atlantic Ocean. A single hop to the northern shoulder of Brazil, and on the bitter cold morning of January 6th, 1942, the glass wall control room at LaGuardia Field, New York.
Pacific Clipper inbound from Auckland, New Zealand. Captain Ford reporting. Due arrive Pan American Marine Terminal, 7 minutes.
And 7 minutes later, 14 men stepped from the plane into the bitter dawn wearing summer clothes, tropical shorts. Never mind what they were wearing. The space and time? Yes, sir. 31,500 miles in 34 days. All the way around the globe to avoid the enemy. Never mind asking if those men dressed in Singapore shorts didn't feel a little silly as they sat shivering in a New York taxi. Never mind asking about the radio officer Poindexter. Told his wife to hold dinner for him in San Francisco on the night of December 2nd. A dinner that waited cold on the table for 31,500 miles. 34 days. Never mind, because we're talking about voyages in their simplest terms. Man's passage through space and time. What is space, anyway? Is a mile in a 4-engine plane with a 50-mile wind on its tail the same mile that Magellan's Cutwater rippled through and his slow lugger? Even those Bibles of space, maps, can be liars. When Pan American sent out an expedition to set up a base at Midway, they took along the official survey map. In the 13 years since the map was made, the island had grown, added 1,200 feet to itself. No, the word space is out if it's an accurate scientific definition you're after. And what about time? Time's all right in its place, I guess. You don't let it go out of bounds, that is, but keep it down to nice, homey proportions. It's very handy to navigators and watch merchants and railroad engineers and senators who get themselves into a frenzy over something called time and a half. Nothing's the matter with time. It's all right. Even if you do have to overlook such a clumsy convention as that place on the vacant side of the world, the date line in the Pacific, where Tuesday is Thursday or Thursday Tuesday, depending on which way you're headed. And Wednesday's something you just don't talk about. But look through a 10-inch telescope at the nebula in Andromeda. A great watch spring, suddenly released and expanding, even exploding. A still picture of a universe exploding. And if you look at it for 300 years, you'll still see no movement. But it will still be exploding. Someone else's idea of an explosion. Someone else's time. And the creeping beetle's time. Measuring his day not by one revolution of the earth, but by 1 inch of change in a reaching shadow of grass. So time is a gray-haired man in the back room of a railroad station with sleeves rolled up, midnight supper in his desk, the green eye shade in his eyes. For time is a static giant, unwinding universes with his slow hand. For time is the thin, quick pulse of a beetle. So there's our definition of a voyage shot to pieces. No space, no time that we can count on.
Excuse it, please, Mr. Wells, but I know what you left out of that definition. Men. Guys like us.
And who are you?
Nobody much. But take that voyage you talked about. The China Clipper's first trip across the Pacific. You know, 8,000 miles in 7 days.
Were you along?
No, but there wouldn't have been any voyage if us guys hadn't made bases for the Clipper on Midway and Wake.
What was your job?
Crane operator. We didn't have any harbors where we were going. But we dumped 10,000 tons of airway base there, 75-foot water tanks, a 100-foot beacon, a seawater distiller, and a pier. Then there was Wake Island. You've heard plenty about Wake, but there wasn't anything there to talk about until us guys made it a place the Japs wanted to take. A 3-island atoll with nobody on it but a lot of screaming frigate birds that hadn't seen a man for 200 years. We had to unload and lighters. 2,000 tons by hand. We had to push those lighters into the lagoon with our own hands, too, standing in 10-foot surf, with those frigate birds screaming at us, and us feeling like pirates come to bury a treasure. But the pirates came after, to steal it from us, our work and all. Guess a lot of boys gave their lives to protect all that work we put in on Wake Island. Well, anyway, mister, that's what you left out. All that corn about time and space don't mean a thing. Nothing matters except people, guys, and what they do. And I guess those Japs came to steal that place, and all the good sweat and work we put into it, they're going to find out sooner or later, too.
How about the planes? Well, I don't mean the planes, but us fellas have built them, eh? You can't put your finger on space and time, but you can on us. Then there were the kids who made the weather books. Researched every steamer log for the Pacific in 30 years. They had to go back, like us. We had to go to the museum and measure seagulls. They found what they wanted in the faded logs of sailing ships. American clippers of the 19th century. Sailing ship weather is closer to airplane weather.
So what would you say, then, was a definition of an important voyage?
Well, I don't know. Except that it's got to be a pioneer voyage. That is, if you don't add something new to what you know already, it's not a voyage that means anything. Excuse the words, but, well, it's got to add something to the prestige of man.
All right, then. A voyage of historical significance is the passage of man through time and space in which he gains knowledge or other possessions. That's true. Doesn't the voyage the Japs made to Wake Island fit the definition, too? Look at the prestige they gained at home.
Oh, no. Excuse me, sir. But there you go again. Of course it don't fit. We came to build. They came to destroy. The world goes ahead. The world's on a voyage, too. They're not just stopping us. They're stopping the world. And themselves, too. And someday they'll learn they can't set back our clock without busting their own.
Pardon me for interrupting.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Wells.
Yes?
You talked about the 14 men who stepped out of that plane last January in Singapore shorts. Remember?
Yes?
Well, I was one of them.
Oh?
Yes. I worked on the clipper that made that round-the-world trip. Well, look. You gave everybody the idea that was some sort of hit-or-miss voyage. You made them think that just because we had to give up our regular flight from New Zealand and come home the hard way, that we were just lucky we got there at all. Mr. Wells, we knew what we were doing just as clearly as we knew what the Japs, were doing. I remember thinking about the night we crossed from Africa, South America. I was lying in my bunk, lying as steady as the moon on our beam. I could see all our guys in the moonlight. John Mack, Roddy Brown, Captain Ford, doing all the things they'd been training themselves for since they started flying. There wasn't any excitement. Nobody was scared. Maybe that was because we weren't just 14 guys after all. We were the sailor here, and this engineer, and all the hundreds of millions of men who've ever sat up late, fooling with a ham radio set or a wheel or an amateur telescope, smiling a little sheepish and proud when their wives come out to look at what they went and made. The war hasn't busted us up, mister. Flying war schedules now instead of peace schedules. But our clock isn't stopping or even missing a tick.
So a voyage is a passage through time and space that adds to the dignity of man. I think that says it. Good night, Americans.
We approach the new year. America must be prepared to take her place of leadership in the air age, so much of which Pan American has already pioneered. Pan American pioneered from scratch the development of long-range transport planes. Pan American pioneered the fully equipped life-saving raft, the kind that saved Rickenbacker. Pan American pioneered engines completely accessible in flight, self-sufficient multiple crews, long-range aerial navigation. That's why on December 7th, America had the world's greatest system of air transport. Pan American's leadership typifies the vision, patience, perseverance, and determination which must inspire us on to victory. For Pan American has always built not in pace with, but ahead of the times. And victory today is closer because of just such pioneering. Ladies and gentlemen, Lockheed and Vega are proud not only that Lockheed planes are in the service of Pan American, but proud, too, to have brought you a portion of the story of one of America's greatest transportation pioneers. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Thank you for listening to and showing your support for my podcast. If you would like to receive notifications of when new episodes are posted, please subscribe to my channel. Subscriptions are 100% free, and they really help me get an idea of how I'm doing.